I got a letter for the
Pull it together. Pull it together.
I got a letter from the government the other day, opened and read it, and said they were suckers. They wanted me for their army or whatever. Picture me giving a damn. I said,
Never.
Renegade coaches in the building. Yeah. I am Kalonji Changa, the riot starter, alongside
Kamau K. Franklin, you know what I mean? The man here with the best to impress.
Okay. Featuring.
I go by the name of the ear doctor. What's good?
Okay.
The ear doctor. You know what I'm saying?
What up, ear doctor?
Hey, everything's good. Everything's
Okay.
good. Yeah, you see who we got over here on the right and to the back?
Man, we got Minister Servers in the building.
Mr. Server.
Serving the people. Hip-hop minister.
Hip-hop guy. Hip-hop guy.
And we got my man Jai in the building. Jai
right.
always knocking them out.
All
1,
right.
2, to the 3, to the 4. You know what I mean? Straight out from Flow.
We love Jai. We love Jai. You know what I'm saying?
We love Jai.
Yo, so we got an interesting week happening up, man.
Big Jai.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah.
Oh, yeah, stop singing the Jai.
Interesting week.
Interesting week coming up. So, you know, because by the time this show airs, well, no, right before, this is our last show,
Yes.
right before the presidential election, where
Show
America
87.
makes, Show 87.
Yes, sir.
Where America makes its next election for whoever's going to be running the empire.
Yes, Trump the tyrant or
Biden, blackface Biden, I think we call him.
Blackface
You know what I'm
Biden.
saying? I call him Jim Crow Joe.
Yes.
I like that one,
like
too, you know
Jim
what I'm saying?
Joe.
That's a good deal.
I like that. You know what I mean? The overt white supremacist versus the covert white supremacist. You know what I'm saying?
What the Republicans say? Kamala.
Kamala the cop. Kamala the cop.
So featuring her too.
And
Shout out to her.
Pence, who can't stay in the room with more than one woman, otherwise his head is going to explode. You know what I'm saying?
Old fly face.
Old fly face, you know what I'm saying? So it's an interesting dynamic
Fly
that's
guy.
happening all around. People are like, you know, busting out, getting to the polls, early voting is through the roof.
Yes.
There might be some controversy around, you know, what's going to happen during the election. And so part of the major part of our show tonight is to talk about the election, what it means for black folks, who we should support, and should we be supporting anybody?
That's right.
And so we got a wide variety of opinions that's going to be on the show tonight. We're going to have April Albright from Black Voters Matter,
Okay.
Anoa Changa, Ben Dixon, and Shelley Wynter,
Shelley
who
Wynter
I
in
call
the
the Black Unicorn because he's actually a Trump supporter.
Okay.
Know what I'm
I
saying?
don't know if the man like being called a black unicorn.
Well,
That's,
you know.
I wouldn't want to be a black unicorn.
Oh, he shouldn't
he
be supporting
stands-
Trump
he stands
now.
out.
You got that right.
No, I understand.
Now you make everybody hate unicorn.
Damn, you know what I'm saying?
Call it
yo,
a frog or some shit.
but before we get to, you know, the end of our intro, there's some other crazy shit that's always happening out here in this country. So in Philadelphia, young brother Walter Wallace Jr. was gunned down by the police.
12 is out of control.
Yeah.
They fucking everybody up all over the country as usual.
So
you know
the,
what I mean?
the protesters and folks out in the street, they
Shout
banging
out
on
to
the
Philly.
system. So we just want to give our unconditional support to folks that stay out in those streets, make sure that there's a price to pay when you take a young black life, because those times are over when you can just do that and get away with it.
And Philly has a history of murdering our people. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to our Move family out there. You know
Oh,
what
that's
I mean?
right, that's right.
Move 9.
right.
And also those who were killed on May 13th, 1985, assassinated when no good Mayor Wilson Good dropped a bomb.
That's right,
On
that's
men,
right.
women, and children.
That's right.
On Osage Avenue.
Philly got
we
a
like to
history.
say, fuck Philly. You know what I'm saying? Except for the people.
That's right. And then
Fuck
in
Rocky,
Illinois,
too.
something
Illinois,
happened?
yes, in
a couple.
Illinois, a couple parked in front of, I believe, the sister's mother's house, and police decided to come up and kill her boyfriend, 19-year-old, and she was 20. She was shot, and you know, it's business as usual.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like we said, you know, we can't even remember all the names because of the fact that, you know, back in the day, we knew like, okay, it was Sean Bell, it was Oscar Grant, it was this. Nowadays, it's like whoever name goes up in the uproar, whatever city goes up in the place, that's what we remember.
And the crazy thing is that, I mean, one of the good things about social media
Yes.
is that has allowed us to know farther, faster, what's happening, who's been killed, who's getting hurt, and that kind of thing.
Do you give credit to your brother Sean King?
No, never.
Okay, cool.
And he's not my brother.
I thought he was your brother.
No,
Another.
you're lying, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Yo, so Renegade Culture, yo, we're going to be right back. We're going to get into this. We got a musical guest.
We got
I keep
not
on
even a
messing it up.
musical guest. We got a poet that you should know about. He goes by
right.
the name of Tommy Bottoms. He's gonna be here
That
giving
poet.
us some poetry.
One of my
today.
favorite poets, although he's a Trump supporter. So
Another one?
I mean, he's
How
Shelley Wynter.
we let this happen, man?
I don't
There's so
fucking
many.
know.
All
I mean,
right.
he came with Shelley. Shelley had to bring him back up.
True. We got a little skirt.
He like
got a little skirt.
they might try to jump me.
It's like,
Tommy.
there's gonna be a lot of them.
Tommy said, I'm gonna come dressed distinguished, like a distinguished derelict with a tie on. You can't hit a man with a necktie on.
It's like, there's gonna be a lot of them.
They gonna think I'm with the nation. Anyway,
Yo, Renegade Culture, we be back.
black eye.
Yeah.
You rolling like Trump, you get your beat up.
What? Damn, no, you're starting in already, huh?
Yes. Anyway, what's happening?
We good. So we here with a house full of guests, you know what I'm saying?
House full.
House full.
Yeah, how many guests we got?
We got 4 guests. We
Oh,
got
my
guests
goodness.
on Zoom. We got guests in the studio.
Yes.
And so that's why we all masked up, because we want to make sure that, of course, we are following as much COVID precautions and protections as we can.
Yes. Not only that, we got one of the guests is a Trump supporter, so we don't want to get Herman Cain and shit out this
True.
One
We don't want no.
of the problems out of this bitch. Go ahead.
So I want to start just by doing a quick intro for our guests, since we have so many folks on, to let folks know who we got. So to my right, we have April Albright, who's an organizer, lawyer, the legal director for Black Voters Matter, a civic engagement organization that's focused on supporting Black organizing and electoral work. And I should also mention that April was one of the founders of an independent third party in Selma, Alabama. Sister, thank you for coming. I really appreciate having you on.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm trying to be professional because I've known April for like decades and years.
She must be cutting the check. This motherfucker like, you talking so polite.
Hey, April.
Next sister, thank you for coming on.
You know what I'm saying? That's right. I'm gonna use my.
What the fuck is this guy on today?
Oh, fuck you. So our next guest is Anoa Changa, who is a movement journalist deeply influenced by grassroots-led electoral organizing efforts. Anoa Changa hosts the Scalawag magazine video series as The South Votes and the Way with Anoa podcast, an organizer by nature, a retired attorney.
Okay.
Anoa has a strong sense of equity and social justice, and she wants you to know that she is no relation whatsoever to our co-host, Kalonji Changa. How you doing, Anoa? You doing good?
I'm doing well. And, you know, I have to say that retired attorney bit before some other idiot like has a frivolous law, a bar complaint filed against me again. I've never claimed to be a practicing attorney in the state of Georgia, and yet I've had to deal with foolishness because folks like to get their retaliation however they can. So thank you.
Welcome to America.
There you go.
Right.
Okay, and our next guest is Brother Ben Dixon, who's a media entrepreneur. He has spent the majority of his journalism career covering and advocating for social justice from the often ignored intersections of justice, faith, and humanism. In February of 2020, Brother Dixon made national headlines unearthing and surfacing a 2015 Aspen Institute speech by billionaire Michael Bloomberg, who was outlining his philosophy on the controversial stop and frisk policy during his time as mayor in New York. The release of the video earned Dixon nearly 10 million views and is roundly credited for being the beginning of the end of the Bloomberg billion-dollar candidacy. Brother, we thank you so much for that. As a New Yorker who was there, I was like, thank you so much for that work that you've done. Glad to have you on, bro.
Hey, glad to be here, man. Thanks so much for having me.
Definitely glad to have y'all. And last but not least, this brother right here, he went from ashy to classy. I've been knowing him for quite a while, over 15 years, close to 16 years. Formerly of WAOK Radio in Atlanta. He considers himself a Black conservative, and he currently hosts or co-hosts The Word on the Street, which is on 95.5 WSB Radio. And we've shared several stages together. Absolutely. Nationally, internationally, from the Auburn Avenue Research Library to CNN. And, you know, we both still made it out alive.
True that.
He's a real good brother. The only thing I have against him, he's a Trump supporter. We have to deal with that shit tonight.
So we wanted...
Shelley Wynter. Shelley Wynter is in the building.
Thank you, Brother Shelley. Yes. So we wanted to have a wide range of like political opinion, everything from folks who, for the most part, you know, for me, like depending on what day it is, don't engage, me and Kalonji probably don't engage in too much electoral politics. We talk a lot probably about centering local stuff, but we do a lot of sort of talking about how both parties are basically the same. The folks who may feel very similar, but see the very real need to be involved in electoral politics because of all the resources that get determined to where it goes, and folks who are on that line, again, who support, probably support, I would say, not having Trump in, to people who are in terms of electoral politics who are supporting Trump. So we wanted that wide variety of Black opinion.
Translation, for what Kamau said, for the brothers and sisters on the block. In other words, we talking about overthrowing this shit, burning it down to the ground. And we saying fuck Biden, Trump, and anybody else that's Democrat or Republican that's running for president. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you clearing that up for folks.
Hey, don't make
So I want to start with Sister April. Because, you know, again, and that was a good way to begin. Like, you know, a lot of us talk about, we don't see a big difference between the parties, but folks have been saying, you know, even though they said it before, that this particular election is really different because of who's in there. Now, I know, obviously, your organization is not partisan, But what do you see as the dangers of the current administration and why it is important to participate in this particular election?
Yeah, I think, I'm probably a lot like most folk, right? And what I mean by that is, I think when you talk to people, now let's be clear, you got black folks who are Democrats, and they say they're Democrats. I was raised in a family where my father was a strong Democrat. He still organizes as a Democrat in Alabama. But I do think that you do see a transition from that, right? And so people who are, participating in the election this year, who may vote for Joe Biden, not doing so because they have an allegiance with the Democratic Party, but just feeling like they don't want to die, right? They're just a little concerned about that, and they think that this other guy might be better in handling that. And when you talk about how that is affecting, when I'm talking about that, I mean COVID, is impacting black folks and brown folks, that is an important issue, for folks. So, I think, I, like a lot of black folks, feel that way. So it's not necessarily an allegiance to Biden because they think he is going to be good for black folks. They just think he might be a better manager, over some things that are important to our community. And so I think, I don't know if I answered.
No, you answered.
Because I'm exhausted right now. You know what I'm saying? We're doing a whole lot.
It was on point, and we appreciate the honesty, because I think that what happens is people get lost in the sauce, and it's like you have to choose this party when in fact most of these people aren't choosing the party. They're choosing the lesser of two devils. You know what I mean? They're saying, look, I don't really like this motherfucker either, but at the same time, we already know that this one is capable of. At least he's gonna kiss you when he molests you. This other motherfucker just gonna go ahead and do it. I got it. I get you. I understand.
So I want to go, Ben, I want to bring you in. What do you think is the unique threat that Trump represents?
1 in 1,000 black people dead, COVID-19, and they still don't give a shit. So, I mean, there's plenty of other reasons to not support Donald Trump and to reluctantly throw your vote to Joe Biden, not because we like him, but I mean, if nothing else, I mean, if that stat keeps going the way it's going, I mean, it'd be 1 in 500. I mean, is everybody on this set gonna know somebody who passed from it if we're not careful? So, I mean, we got a lot of reasons to be upset with Joe Biden, and it took me a long time to even fix my mouth to say that I'm gonna actually, vote for him. And I'm still phrasing it in the sense of I'm voting against Donald Trump. But at the end of the day, man, I'm trying to live. I'm trying to keep as many people alive as possible.
And Anoa, I want to bring you in on the same question. Do you think that a vote for Biden, or do you think Biden can be pushed to do things that obviously that Trump won't and will be beneficial somehow to the black community once he gets in?
I mean, I don't know that any president, including Trump's favorite, Abraham Lincoln, has ever done anything beneficial for the black community. And I don't know that in the current system and with the current power structure and commitments that empire that is the United States of America has, that any president ever will. And I say this as someone that supported a candidate openly who was running for the Democratic nomination for president. What I do see happening right now is I do see a different landscape potentially coming in January with a Biden administration versus a Trump administration. As we were joking at the outset, as someone with a pre-existing condition, someone with a cancer that requires sustained treatment, I'm thinking about the ACA, right? I'm not thinking about just like, we talk about like benefiting the black community as if there's some secret sauce, special thing that black people specifically need. And most definitely that is a conversation to have. But there are a lot of things that at stake that disproportionately impact our communities. When we're talking about the threat right now that's happening to the ACA, literally a week after Election Day, there is a case before the Supreme Court that could end the ACA. That ends pre-existing conditions. That ends young people being able to stay on their parents' insurance if they're lucky enough for their parents to have insurance until the age of 26. And we're talking about folks who are disabled. We're talking about folks who have conditions like mine. We're talking about folks who got high blood pressure or alopecia or something more simple like that. We're talking about people who could possibly not be locked out of having health care. So there are all these issues that are at stake. That is not about whether or not I think Biden is going to magically enact something better than the Platinum Plan that's going to help bring black people all the way to the promised land. What I do believe is that when we're talking about who is going to send in federal agents on communities out in the open intentionally, I think we have a better chance of dealing with Biden's police-loving self than Trump's extremely authoritarian fascist self. That's what I really think.
Now, obviously, Shelley, you take an opposite opinion to all of this when it comes to Trump.
It's not an opposite opinion. It's really not. It can be framed that way, but the honest to God truth is I take opinion that's factual. To the last point being made, the ACA is not going to be gutted. No one's trying to gut. That case has nothing to do with gutting the ACA. I mean, it's the truth. The case is about
That's not true,
severability.
Champ.
I'm a lawyer, bro. That case is about fighting the ACA unconstitutional. I'm a retired attorney, but I'm always
For the first time ever, let's let one person answer a question.
Let him finish. Take note, please.
This is about the severability of mandates. So that's what the case is about. Now, I'm not arguing whether it can be disbanded. I'm not arguing anything about ACA. I'm just putting out the facts that the case, 10 days, 12 days, whatever it is, after the election, is about the severability of mandates from the overall ACA.
But we'll discuss more about whether or not
That's
by
all.
doing that,
And I know.
gutted.
So
Why Trump?
This is what
Well,
Trump
I'm getting to that.
supporters do.
I'm getting to that. I sat here and I listened to everybody talk. I'm getting to that. Right? So the issue becomes, you two said at the outset, basically, fuck this system. You want to bring it down. You said that. You said specifically, I want to bring the system down.
I'm abolitionists.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
So the point becomes, if everyone here hates Trump, and the idea is to bring the system down, and Trump is the worst thing going, then in order to bring the system down like you want, because the system's not going to come down voting for both parties, like you both just said. So the system has to come down in another way. It either has to come down with someone who's bad at what they do, which is what everyone here says Trump is, or you continue to have the system. Over the last 4 years, I watched African American, I can't talk with this bullshit on. Over the last 4 years, I watched Africa, that's fine, I don't have it. I got tested, by the way, so I don't have it, I'm negative. But the thing is, the fact of the matter is, over the last 4 years, I watched African Americans basically defend the very system that we call having their foot on our necks. I watch African Americans defend the FBI. I watch African Americans defend the media.
You ain't watch nobody over here do that shit.
I'm not talking. I'm talking to the
all
audience.
right.
We're having a conversation to a group of people.
Okay.
So I've watched this over the last 4 years. Over the hatred of one man, like the brother said, he's not voting for Biden. He's voting against Trump. So the idea has to be, now the next logical thought in someone's mind should be, not what I'm getting from Biden, but why would I vote for someone I'm not trying to vote for? In other words, you're just voting for the guy they put in front of you, because you're not voting for Biden. When Barack Obama won in 2008, millions of people voted for him. Many Republicans stayed home because they didn't like McCain. So they just stayed home. They didn't vote against Barack Obama. If you look at the numbers, many Republicans stayed home because they didn't like John McCain. So they just chalked it up, fuck it, I'm not gonna vote, just like you two brothers. So the point I'm trying to make is, as long as we are 13%, 14, 50, whatever percentage of the population you wanna say we are, as long as we're minorities in a population, in a country where we believe, as has been said, that there's white supremacy, racism, and other things that are on our necks, as long as we continue to go down a path where we're always just voting against someone else, we will never obtain anything that we're looking for.
So let me stop, because let me get some responses. Anoa, and then I'm gonna let Ben jump in. Better Anoa.
Ben got his drink now, so
I know, I ain't lit.
Ben doing it neat. No ice.
This is like an awesome conversation to have, right? Like I just had an article in Truth Out earlier today about disinformation and how widespread it is. And when you have Trump supporters use partial facts, right? Like we're talking about the ACA, for example, and the issue of severability. So the question before the court is not simply like, does severability apply? If it is found that severability, that you cannot sever out the portions of the ACA around the individual mandate that have been found unconstitutional, if that cannot be severed from the entire law, the law itself will be unconstitutional. The law itself will go away, and there is no plan or protection. Republicans have failed countless times. The Trump administration and Trump himself has said that he fast track this confirmation in less than 30 days or so to be able to gut that law. Like, this is the clear purpose in what folks are doing. So to say, well, it's actually about severability, I mean, it's great that folks know the terminology, but if we're not going to get into the nuance and actually explain it and kick it to people straight about what's at stake, then we have a problem. When we're talking about toppling a system, right? Like, let's just be real. Trump is not toppling the system. He's not destroying anything. He is absolutely upholding the same exact system that folks are saying that Joe Biden will be upholding. The difference between the two is Trump does not care or does not pretend to have any type of concern for the average person in this country, which is why we had a focus on rushing through a Supreme Court confirmation instead of having actual COVID-19 pandemic relief, which is why we have someone who is openly attacking democratic process in the election, not because they are concerned about somehow toppling the system from the standpoint that folks think is a positive. When we're talking about toppling the system, if that is something that actually could happen under Trump, what we're talking about is a shift to fascism. Like, so this is not hyperbole or just like, you know, made up stuff. We literally have someone right now threatening the outcome of an election that is still in the process while people are voting.
Okay,
that's
1 second.
not someone who's actually trying to.
We're gonna let.
I want Ben to say a little bit before we wrap up.
Then we go to break real quick.
Yeah, then we go to break.
I mean, honestly, y'all could let Anoa keep going because she hit on everything. But I will say this: I find it interesting that my brother, one, I just gotta say it, man. It is the fact that there's a president in the White House who is politicizing and downplaying the significance of wearing masks. And by virtue of the fact that you're taking off your mask in the midst of all those people in the middle of a pandemic, I want to get that kind of demon out of the White House because we need some common sense around this. There's too many people dying, bro. I lost 3 friends to this already.
But
And
according to the
scientists, that is a direct product of a president who does not give a damn about anybody else except his own ego. Right? And that has trickled down. And of course, it's not all his fault. America is a very selfish place, right? We're very individualistic. But if we could at least survive this goddamn pandemic. And here's the thing about burning the system down. I'm going to shift gears, 180. Here's the thing about burning the system down. Right now, Donald Trump is kind of sort of burning the system down, but it is not going to be resurrected from the ashes as some kind of socialist utopia because we're not the ones with the power. We're not the ones doing the burning. If we're not the ones doing the burning down, we're not the ones that are going to be building it back up. The people who's going to be building back up are the Nazis, the people who really don't give a damn about you because of your blackness, but they will be glad to use your services in the meantime.
All right.
You listen to Renegade Culture.
We're going to be right back in segment 2. We're going to let my man Shelley get a
Shelley
chance to respond when he comes back.
Also, April in the building. And it's getting hot in here. Anyway, Renegade Culture.
Peace and much love. It's a minister serving with your hip Hopstory. You know who this is? This is Public Enemy, one of the most influential rap groups in hip-hop history. When they got signed to Def Jam, it changed the whole game. Their first album dropped in 1987, Yo Bum Rush the Show. It was so different just the way it sounds sonically. Nothing sounds like a Public Enemy song. Their second album, it takes the nations of millions to hold us back. The most influential album in hip-hop history. It changed the whole political landscape of how we even started to present ourselves music-wise. They are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a lifetime Grammy Award winners, Public Enemy, Chuck D, Flavor Flav, Professor Griff, Terminator X, and the S1Ws. Know your history, Public Enemy. They dropped 10 albums. You can check them all out right now. Public Enemy, word.
Renegade Culture, yo, we back in the house.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So we just took a break. We want to get right back into it because my man Shelley was sounding like Mao, like he was trying to burn the system down from within or some shit like that. I don't know what was going on. So I wanted you to explain a little bit more.
What I was saying was, I'm sorry.
No, I just want
yeah.
I want you to explain why you think Trump is good for either black people or are you saying that he's not good for anybody because the system is...
No, that's not what I'm saying. I was saying if you are someone who believes that the system should be caved in on itself, and you think Trump is a bad president, is the worst ever, then that should be your choice to cave the system on itself. I'm not saying he's caving the system on itself, nor did I ever say he's intending to burn the system down. That's not my point. My point is the people that I respect more than anybody else are the people that say fuck both of them. Those people in my mind are looking at experience.
Let me stop you. I want to know why
I like Trump. I like Trump. The simple answer that I've been given since 2015, and I want everyone to hear me out. The simple answer why I like Trump is because he's not them. And I want that to sit on everybody's brain for 30 seconds. He's not them.
Okay, we ain't got
Now the question becomes, who is them? Yes. The them is, start with the media. The them is the same media that painted black men as over-sexualized beasts looking to rape and pillage and sell dope and be criminals. Them is the same media that painted black women as over-sexualized harlots who just went around having sex for no reason.
Is it the same media that Trump took that full-page ad out?
That could be, yes.
Right,
because yes. Now let's talk about that. Let's talk about that media.
Let's talk about them.
Because that same media allowed him to buy and place that ad. The New York Times, the Daily News, hold on, my brother, the New York Newsday. So he took the ad out, but they had to accept the money and run the ad one time for one day. So it's the same media. The same media that we read when we saw that ad, and we looked at that ad and we said to ourselves, wow, this is a fucked up ad to run against these 5 young brothers who we know were railroaded by the New York City Police Department.
So why would you want a motherfucker like that if you...
I said, he's not them. Follow me, brother. Don't just try and cut me off. Follow me.
I'm
said,
not trying to cut you off.
I'm saying he's not them, and I'm listing who the them are.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
The media is one. The same media that's been dogging, the same media that when they show up to a local fire in a hood and they let the sister go by with her business suit on and briefcase and let her walk by but interview the sister with 5 babies and rollers in her hair. That same media we never trusted. Our rappers rapped about it. Our poets talked about it. We've never trusted the media, yet and still he's not them. The second part of he's not them who has taken us to unnecessary wars over the last 30 to 40 years. Trump is the first president since Jimmy Carter not to start or engage the country in a war. The first since Jimmy Carter, and he's only been there 4 years. So he's not them. The same people that protested George W. Bush with the pink hats, who stopped protesting war as soon as Obama got elected, he's not them. He's not the foreign policy hacks, the intelligence community, the FBI that killed Fred Hampton, okay. Martin Luther King. He's not them.
We know he's not them, but who the fuck is he?
He is Trump. He is the guy that's not them. See, I've never been threatened by him. My existence in this country as a black man has been threatened by a lying media, a lying intelligence community, a lying domestic police force called the FBI, a lying and others lying politicians. I've been threatened by them. He's not them. So the enemy of my enemy becomes my friend in this particular moment. You see, all of y'all have been sitting here talking about a guy that's been there for 4 fucking years, who's never done it before. Hold on, who's never done it before. You can speak all you want after I'm done. Who's never done it before.
Motherfucking show.
You can cut me off anytime you want, but he's never been there before.
Okay.
So we're turning to a guy who's been there for 47 years, who's been overseeing our entire dysfunction, our entire destruction. The book was written to target on black men, the plan to take out black boys.
Why are you voting for him?
That's why I just told you. I just told you.
He's not them.
Right. That's why. That's why I'm voting for him. That's why I'm voting for him because I don't like them. I don't like them. That's why I'm voting for him. That's fine.
So, I mean, it sounds, before we switch, it does sound like one sort of nuance point that I think we all do.
It's all fucking nuanced, dog. Sorry. It's all fucking nuanced.
No, you gotta know the difference.
It's all fucking nuanced.
We get it. He's not
one
them.
nuance point, it sounds like, is sort of like the militarism that I'm not saying Trump is against, right? But he doesn't represent anything different than Biden. So what is the difference per se? Like why Biden more than Trump on things like sort of international intervention, foreign policy, if their policies represent basically the same thing in terms of like this hawk dovish shit? Trump is probably as much as a dove as any other Democrat has been. Right. So why is that a big difference?
If you say he's not them, we're gonna ask you to leave.
There's a lot to unpack with what he said, and I don't be honest, I'm exhausted. But point blank, you talk about the media and you say he's not them, but I would imagine my question to you would simply be, so it's Fox News and those types of news sources that he does rely on. Are those the kind of news sources that we should be embracing Because certainly, while he may be rejecting some media that we would be critical of, I don't think any of us would embrace the media that he has selected and chosen to follow, because they are probably doing even more demonizing of our community and our people. So there's no difference there. And I think that my main point with Trump is that there is no difference, right? And in many ways, he is worse, you know, and I think we have to be honest about that as Black folk right now. There are things that are happening in this community, whether you want to say Trump is one of them folk or not, but he is clearly signaling to white supremacists and white nationalists that this is going to be I am your policy guy. And when you are in a position of power with the presidency, there are things that you can do in the executive office. And I literally, last week, worked for an executive office that was under the Trump administration. And the very first thing that he did when he took over, his secretary took over the Department of Education, was go back and reverse the work around discipline in schools. And why is that significant, right? Because I came to the Department of Education to specifically work on that issue under the Obama administration. And while I'm not cheering for Obama, I will say that Trump specifically, the very first measure or initiative he undermined and removed was the thing that related to Black students, right? Black kids, Black brothers.
1 second.
No,
Stop.
that related,
Don't cut the sister off.
the initiative that specifically was dedicated to eradicate what was happening to young Black kids who were being disciplined at a rate of 4 to 1, right? And he decided that the first initiative he was going to undo was that. And there were other issues too. So my point being that you're talking about a person who has a white supremacist agenda, right? And he is using, and this is not just buzzwords, there are actual policies we can cite that point to that. So while there's an incompetence around handling the COVID-19 that we all should take dear to heart, there are specific racial policies that he is implementing in his Department of Justice. And we have to be real about that. We can't undershadow what he is doing in these different departments as it relates to our community, right, that are harmful. Now, some folks are talking, you know, we engage about whether or not there's the less of harms, whether we should be, you know, dealing with politics and electoral politics to deal with the reduction of harm, or whether we should be trying to, you know, destroy the system, right? We have that issue that we are dealing with all the time. But the majority of Black folk who live in this country, right, they want to live. They want to be all right. They don't want to have to fight around social justice issues. They don't want to be out organizing in the street. They want to live. They want to work. They want to have health care, right? You know, and they don't want their children to be murdered. And they don't want their kids to go to school and be, you know, disciplined because they Black. And they want to just deal with those things. And for them, Trump represents everything that gaslights those things. And we got to be honest that is there.
So wait a minute, no, because my brother Ben's head's going to explode. So I want him to get a chance to say a little something. I'm going to let you get more time because obviously you battling against a whole bunch. But I just want to let Ben get
I mean, but the key thing he's battling is the truth, right? Brother, you're saying a lot of stuff that is not grounded in truth. Donald Trump has engaged in the same number of wars that were started by George W. Bush and expanded by Barack Obama. No love for Barack Obama for his wars, but the drone program underneath Donald Trump expanded. He has dropped more bombs through drones than any other president. He expanded on that. Not to mention what he did in northern Syria, abandoning the Kurds. Not to mention pulling us out of the JCPOA, putting us on the brink of war with Iran. And if it was not for Iran being the rational actor, we would be in war right now because Michael Flynn, laugh all you want, brother. I got receipts. Michael Flynn, the first 2 weeks of him being in his position in the cabinet, put Iran on notice. For what? For what? When we had an opportunity for peace, Donald Trump wanted war. And if it wasn't for Michael Flynn getting in trouble and getting indicted, we would have been on that same exact path. So the idea that Donald Trump is somehow a dove above and beyond, and he's not them, he is part and parcel of that same system, dropping bombs experimentally just because we got a mother of all bombs. He did that in his first term, dropping bombs in Syria, bombing the airbase, killing, assassinating Iranian generals. So you can't call that man a dove in the time when he's carrying out the exact same wars that were started by George W. Bush and expanding the drone usage. So I'm sorry, if you're going to talk about something, talk about it in facts and not in misinformation.
First of all, I said he hasn't started any new wars. The first president.
No, you actually said expanded.
Listen, my brother.
You said expanded.
I said
you put that in there intentionally, and I heard it.
I said he hasn't started the first president since Jimmy Carter to start a new war. You're telling me about existing enemies of the state, quote unquote, quote unquote, that he's carried on with. That's what I'm talking about. To the audience,
rewind it and listen to him say expand, because that's what you said, and that's a critical word.
Expand with Iran, because Iran, according to the intelligence community, I'm doing air quotes here, very, very, very proactively, according to the intelligence community, Iran is the largest sponsor of worldwide terror. So yes, we expand. Now, if you don't believe them,
now you're sounding like them. You're sounding like them.
Okay, fair enough. If you don't believe them, that's not Shelley saying that. I'm saying what's going on. Now, we want to have a foreign policy argument about whether we should be doing that. That's something entirely different. We're talking about Trump and right now. So that's what I said. I said started a new war since Jimmy Carter. That's what I said.
So you saying he hasn't killed any new people?
However you want to phrase it, however you want to phrase it, you can phrase it that way. You can phrase it that way. But I do know this. I do know that in your hatred for Trump, and here's my closing statement, in your hatred for Trump and everything you just said, because clearly, as I am, you're an anti-war people. We don't want to go to war with other foreign countries. Unless they attack us, I'm not messing with them. As for leaving out the Kurds, I have nothing to do with the Kurds. What do the Kurds have to do with my black children right here who don't have computers? But let me say this. As a person who just talked about foreign policy and wars, why would you go and support a man who voted for every single war that's been put on the ballot? Now, answer that,
I love your energy.
Because those are my receipts.
I love your energy.
Those are my receipts. Those are my receipts. I want to know why you are going to vote for a guy. I want to know why.
Sit the fuck down on the show.
I want to know why you want to vote for a guy that's been there for 47 years and voted for every war vote that's come before his pipe. Because you just preached a very peaceful, anti-war message that was so clear and articulate with all the receipts that you could possibly have. Yet in the beginning of this conversation, you said, I'm going to vote for the guy that voted for every war vote and never said no.
Let him answer. Then we're going to go to Anoa.
You know why?
Fuck with me.
You know why? Because in addition to everything else, everything that you think Donald Trump is not them, he is literally them and a beneficiary of them and enriching them. Hold on, I'm answering your mother. I'm answering your question, man. I'm answering your question.
It is a really good thing that the Gemini twins are on the Zoom right now.
Because trust, I don't care how tall you is, bro. Like all that energy you got for Donald Trump, make sure you got that energy for the white supremacists.
Brother, let him talk.
Make sure you got that energy for white supremacists marching down your goddamn street. Make sure they were in Noonan, Georgia.
Let's get to the answer.
Noonan, Georgia.
Let's get to the answer.
Wait. No, I'm gonna toss it to you in 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds. Keep that energy. Keep that energy for every Nazi that got your name, brother. Keep that energy for them. In addition to the fact that everything that you think Donald Trump is not, he is enriching the same military-industrial complex that you think ostensibly you oppose, but you don't really oppose because you don't see it in Donald Trump. He's enriching the same defense contractors. Oh, and by the way, he's killing your auntie and them, your mama and them, all of your cousins and them. Every one of us, 227,000 people dead, 1 in 1,000 black people dead. If you can't see the difference, then you are just blind, brother.
Let me ask
blind, baby. Blind for the fact you watching that garbage.
Are you hosting the show?
No, I'm not.
So what's going on?
Come on, play.
WSB is renegade coach.
My bad.
Noah.
I'm being disrespectful.
What's going on? I mean, you trying to be Trump?
All right, everybody shut the fuck up. Noah, your turn.
That's right, shut the fuck up. Changa is speaking. That's right, Kalonji. Tell him when Changa speaks.
That's right.
Everybody
Speak on it. Damn it.
Anyway, but like it's so wild, right? Like to have this conversation with all of us sitting here in Georgia, right? On the soil that we stand on the shoulders that we stand on here in the South, understanding the threat of racialized violence around elections. And then looking at the way in which we have people warning of potential concerns around the visit to Rome, Georgia that's getting ready to happen. We have threats and concerns about, Ben just brought up Noonan, Georgia, but we already know that there are so many different parts of the state including, you know, white nationalists in Augusta that supported Brian Kemp, that were active, who was actively, what's his name, Jason Stachowicz, or what, I can't even pronounce his name. But like, we know that there are people who are armed and ready, who think they're supposed to show up with their guns at the ballot, who think they're protecting democracy and our black asses. And you sitting there in a room right now with someone, April will tell you what her folks have been through in Daughtry County the past 2 weeks with an armed white woman and other folks trying to incite violence against our folks. That's not some ominous out there, just random fringe occurrence. Like that is coming straight from the Donald himself. But that's not just the Donald. The Donald is a current manifestation of what the GOP has been doing for decades now. Now, the Democrats ain't shit either. And I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent that sometimes caucuses and votes with Democrats, but I am not a Democrat. And as my father's child, as my mama's child, I'm not going to sit here and listen to no one act like it's because we just randomly hate somebody. I'm thinking about voting for my son, my black son, who I'm concerned about at 16, who is seen as a grown-ass fucking man. And that's going to happen with either one of them. But I have a greater likelihood of my son advancing and thriving, of my daughter advancing and thriving, of all of us advancing and thriving with a different person in that seat than Donald J. Trump. Considering the decision-making that has already been happening. This ain't about hating nobody. I hate very few people. I mean, besides like Alyssa Milano and a couple of other folks, like Alyssa Milano, I wouldn't piss on her ass if she was on fire. That's just real talk.
No.
But like that bitch said that I doxed her children and she lied and had white women harassing me for weeks. But anyway, but like this is not about that. Like Donald J. Trump has still now in the modern times, with all that we know about the Central Park Five, refuses to acknowledge that he was not only wrong, but that he escalated violence against young black folks and helped usher in. As much as we can talk about what Joe Biden did on the policy side, and trust and believe, like I'm right there with everybody and fuck Joe Biden and the crime bill and all that conversation right there. But when we're talking about how we're stuck now with the decisions that we're stuck now with, this literally, the fact that we're stuck with these two decisions is a function of white supremacy and a mediocrity that loves to uphold and protect. You cannot.
Well, no,
the fact that we are sitting here stuck right now with where we are. So when I'm thinking about voting, because voting for the president is not going to be necessarily the greatest thing that I do to protect my community when we're talking about electoral policy and electoral engagement. But when we're looking at who this president supports and who this president is lifting up, whether it's that knucklehead senator we got, Kelly Loeffler, or our stupid governor, Brian Kemp, like when we're talking about like Donald Trump, it's not just Donald Trump. It's an entire fucking ecosystem that is riding on his back right now. He is carrying the whole damn Republican Party and all the rest of us being pushed down the drain in the process. So when I'm looking at what is going on right now, where this money is going to, whether it's the disinformation network that had targeted millions of black voters in 2016, more so than Republican Russian interference. And yes, I say that as a black Russian. But like, when we're talking about what is going on right now, we're talking about Donald Trump lying about what is happening in election administration in multiple states, putting targets on the backs of elected officials like Gretchen Whitmer. Like when we're talking about what is happening right now, like I'm not moved by Republicans who are like, oh my God, that's so bad. I'm not moved by folks in their respectability politics and issues with decorum and Dianne Feinstein hugging people and shit like that.
I'm gonna wrap you up.
I'm wrapping it up.
Oh, you gonna wrap it up?
I'm wrapping it up.
You got 5 seconds to wrap this up.
I'm wrapping it up.
Look,
what I'm saying
I'm
is,
only
you can't
Changa to run
sit here
shit
and
on
talk
this
about.
show.
You can't tell a Changa to shut up. I'm telling Changa to shut up.
I've told many Changas.
We can put it on mute.
So wait a minute, let me just bring him in here because obviously you are battling a whole bunch of folks.
Come on.
I just want
It's not a battle. It's all in love. We're just trying to bring him back to reality with the rest of it.
We've never had a show where we can goddamn relax and let everybody else go fucking nuts. This is an amazing show. So thank y'all.
I appreciate it.
You're doing a great job moderating.
So, but I want to get to the point of like, I mean, you support Donald Trump, and I mean, it's obvious that Donald Trump has done exactly some of the things that they've said that he's done.
But he's not
supporting writing articles about the death penalty for the Central Park Five, retweeting white supremacists, saying that both sides, there's good people on both sides, and all that kind of stuff.
Let's break that down.
Well, wait a minute. I was going to be clear. He called Mexican rapists. Yes. So he's obviously not even like sending dog whistles. He's obviously being at times overtly racialized and racist towards targeting white working class people to
Chinese
support
disease.
him.
Right.
So why would you, as a black man,
Yes.
support that kind of behavior?
Because the brother talked about facts. First of all, the good people on both sides, a simple Google search of that transcript will show when he made the statement, he was talking about the people that went there first originally to protest keeping statues up, which is a fair argument. A lot of people make it. I don't agree with it. I think you should take them down. But it's a fair argument of keeping historical statues up. And another group of people who protested against them. The people who protested against.
No.
I'm telling you what. I'm telling you that statement.
Even your man Tommy looking like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm gonna interrupt you now, but he did it. Wait, I just want to make sure though. He
not
made those statements
not in a way that the narrative has been spun since that day.
After the chanting of the Jews won't replace us, he said what he said.
He said what he said.
After all of that,
right.
after
people were
killed,
that, fair enough.
Yeah, he didn't say that before.
You know what? For the sake of argument sitting here, that is the most egregious thing he's ever said. I denounce him for making that statement. Now, as to what the brother said,
not the most egregious
what the brother said, because you asked me. I'm sitting between two brothers, and I got my brother over here, and I got my brother over here, and I got Rob Naka right there, and I got the young intern right here, and you're gonna tell me that if you're rich and famous, women won't let you grab them by the pussy, and that's not a statement that you make around men? Get the fuck out of here. Please, get the fuck out of here.
Not a statement I made.
Don't become that guy.
I ain't never said no dumb shit like that before.
Listen, Kalonji.
How the fuck you feeling this?
I want to get back to the
38 times he's denounced white supremacy. But that's not the point. The brother talked about Nazis walking down my street, and then the sister talked about a 16-year-old. Keisha Lance Bottoms, the mayor of Atlanta, just went on the news yesterday and talked about the increasing murder rate in Atlanta. Trust me, people listening, that ain't no fucking neo-Nazis walking in the hood killing black people. That the mayor of Atlanta just had to go on television and say it's getting out now. Well, it's not still the police, because the last police shooting in Atlanta was a couple months ago. So she didn't go on the news. She didn't go. Mike, you understand my point. She didn't go on the news talking about white supremacists walking down the neighborhood and neo-Nazis shooting black people. Now that is not a side argument. I'm making the point to what the brother made.
No, I'm just laughing because Anoa's eating popcorn.
That's fine. He's eating popcorn only one.
We talking about Trump, he talking about
Trump.
I'm serious.
You asked me a fundamental question. At the fundamental level, I believe this. There is no president, there is no politician that can help black people in this country of America. None whatsoever. I've got in Georgia right now, we have the largest caucus of African American elected officials. Yet we're all sitting around here talking about COVID deaths, talking about violence in the streets and everything. The largest number of elected black officials is in the state of Georgia. That caucus is the largest in the country. So clearly, politics is not the thing that we should be sitting around here talking about if we're trying to get rid of the problems. So based on that, if I've got two people running, I've got a guy who just got there for the first time in politics 4 years ago, and I've got a guy that's been there for 47 years. She talked about an ad against 5 brothers, yet he skipped over the 94 crime bill that locked up hundreds of thousands of others. So if I'm looking at 2 men, and I got one who ran an ad, and I'm going to hold him as that's the most egregious fucking thing that's ever been done in the history.
It's not because of no
listen. I didn't say you raised the ad. You raised the ad. But I've got another guy. I got one.
That was even before he was president.
I got one guy over here that's been there 47 years and bragged about writing every crime bill ever being written. So who do I choose? If I have to make a choice, you two brothers don't make a choice. I respect that. But if I have to make a choice between the two, don't tell me that you care about your young 16-year-old and you're willing to go talk badly about the guy. He ran an ad. I can't believe he ran an ad. But the other guy voted for every crime bill that locked your same 16-year-old.
You said he wasn't the
You said he was. No, 1 second. We're going to come back. We got to take a break. We got to take a break. We got sponsors, Noah.
Fuck your break.
She said fuck out sponsors?
You know
we got sponsors, I think.
Y'all listen.
1 second. We're going to be right back. Renegade Culture. Let's just take a break.
We come right back at you.
We're going to come back.
so ill, I snatched the food out of hungry lion mouth. Jogged from Brooklyn to DC on I-95 South without getting fatigued. I travel at light speed, get shot with a bazooka dog and barely bleed. I could touch a lightning bolt and not get shocked. Bought shots at the president and won't get knocked. No shitting. Swim with the sharks and I ain't never been bitten. Had Nelson Mandela quoting the shit that I'm spitting.
Renegade Culture, we back?
Yo, we back again. It's getting real hot. I mean, we here with April Albright.
Black Voters Matter.
We got Shelley Wynter, who
Can you stop shaking your foot?
who said he brought the facts, but he left them in his car. We got Anoa Changa, no relation to Kalonji, but she doing her thing tonight though, goddammit. And we also have Ben Dixon, who looked like he about to run through the goddamn screen. Him and Shelley beefing through the damn screen. He throwing punches. Shelley standing up like, don't come for me. Shelley a bad motherfucker behind that goddamn screen, ain't he? He said, I did it right, like he jumped up. All right, Shelley, don't fuck around, be the first one to get their ass aboard Renegade Culture. You listen to me, you watch Renegade Culture. We can say fuck the police, fuck the president, fuck the presidential candidate, both parties.
Bam.
You know what I'm saying? Because we ain't going to damn one of the motherfucking parties. We doing our own dance. We dancing in a motherfucking grave. That's how we doing it.
So,
anyway.
Yeah, so I want to get back to, we were told we want to bring up a couple of more topics that are around this issue. So Supreme Court nominee, just got put in, Amy Coney Barrett. So now the conservatives have a firm 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court. And folks are fearful that things like voting rights, voting suppression, abortion, LGBTQ rights, other things like pro-police are all going to get hyper, I guess going to go up in terms of like who controls and what policies dictate. So Noah, you being, as you wanted to say, the former lawyer, I wanted you to talk a little bit about what you think this moment means. We don't got to get into the fact that obviously the Republicans did everything they could to manufacture and make sure that this happened for them. But what does this actually mean for the larger community in terms of having now a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court?
I mean, we can look back to when there was not a 6-3 conservative majority in the Supreme Court, and we find decisions that were not in our favor. When you look, I remember sitting in criminal procedure, and I mean, Kamau, you probably had the same experience in April, you too, in law school. Like, criminal procedure was a depressing fucking class to take when you saw how so-called good justices came down and made decisions that affected our communities in terms of things like stop and frisk. I'm saying stop and frisk, but when you think about Terry stops, I mean, it's the whole nature of criminal procedure and how policing is done. Even this the objective reasonable standard that we see being held from police is a fiction that came out of the courts, right? And so, when we're talking about what's at stake, I mean, there are some things that are deeply concerning about what could potentially be in front of this court. You have at the end of November, you have a case coming up on whether or not the Trump administration can exclude undocumented people from the census count. And when we think about what the purpose of the census is, to count all people, regardless of citizenship, who live in this country. When you think about the allocation of resources to communities and how excluding members of our communities in this way would deny communities access to needed resources, would deny schools and other entities needed resources and funding. I mean, we have real serious problems at stake. So it's a mixed bag in terms of the Supreme Court. But I think that the Supreme Court, while it is what it is, I mean, the Supreme Court has never been in our favor. I mean, there have been some decisions here and there, but when we look at the length of the court and Black people in this country and other people of color, the Supreme Court has not been for us, right?
I just want to bring Sister April in also and talk a little about the Supreme Court.
Okay, I'll be quiet for April.
For April, you're going to be quiet.
Thank you.
Don't do
You know what I'm
that.
saying? Oh, here we go. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
I'm sorry, April.
Me Too movement.
I know you're exhausted.
Yeah.
I know. I could.
She over there
But that energy is about to pop back up because I realize I know who you are.
she wondering why she here.
So, no, she know why she here. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about the Supreme Court thing, but I also think you had something else that you wanted to add on a little bit also. But what do you think is going to be now that they have this firm, knowing this firm majority? Obviously, as Anoa alluded to, there's still decisions that have obviously not gone our way as a people or the way of working class people. But do you think this sort of firm majority, even in terms of this election, may play some sort of role in who becomes president or what happens down the line?
I don't know. I think I think the majority, the decisions that we have gotten from the Supreme Court throughout history have been those that have, when there was a movement, right? And so we know that the courts tend to bend towards what's happening in the streets. And so to the extent that we expect any outcome, because again, the Supreme Court rules the same 90% of the time, right? It's just that 10% of those cases, right, that matter. And so if we are doing what we need to do in the streets, then we may get the outcomes on the court. I mean, you think about the Brown decision was decided amongst one of the most conservative, probably even more conservative than this 6-3, right? But there was a radical movement that had developed, and it was a result and a reaction to what we were doing. Mm-hmm. And I always say, as it relates to voting, we didn't vote for the Voting Rights Act, right? We protested for the voting rights, and that was one of the fruit of that. So, so to that extent, I agree. Absolutely, the Supreme Court is what it is, and there's a lot of things that we're going to have to deal with, because beyond the Supreme Court, what's happened even more is what's happening on the district level, right? Because we're infatuated on that number 6-3, but we don't realize how many justices he has appointed in all of these vacancies all around the country, which are more intimate and one-on-one with folks and their issues in states. So we have to deal with that too. But as long as we are doing what we should do in the streets, I think we'll be okay. I do want to say, we can't underestimate the power, of the state. For Black folks, slavery is always on the ballot, which is why we typically vote in a block, right? Because we are always very mindful, all of us, I don't care who we are and what we're doing and where we are economically, we are always, we know that we're binded by that legacy in this country, right? And so we take that very serious. So when Black folk voted for the Republican Party, when they voted with the Democrats, it was really to deal with the safety of our people. Mm-hmm. You talked about push earlier when we came, what happened in the movement, and move in Philadelphia. And we look at all these examples of our folks acting in self-determining ways. Mm-hmm. And so the legacy never persisted because they could not be protected against the state. And so Black folks genetically are acutely aware of that. And so when they see something like a Trump, right, who does these signals, who now we're protesting in streets and laced on buildings, are white supremacists with weapons. And we know that police officers are standing back to permit that. We feel a burden of making sure that we're okay in this country, right? And that the things that we are developing, for example, your work with community builders, right here in Atlanta, to help that community defend itself against the encroaching state. We want to make sure you can do that, right? Without having, the worries, to the extent that we can, of having the state stop that. Mm-hmm. And so I think we have to take that seriously. And so when I hear people support Trump without a firm analysis around that, right? That is what tires me, right? We can debate all day about whether or not Republican and Democrats are our friends. Hell, I ran and created a third party to defeat Democrats that actually were my bosses, who were paying my bills. But I still organized a third party to run candidates against them. So we don't have to debate that. But we have to take seriously the threat. And we can't let the work of our ancestors to make sure that we're safe, we can't turn our heads to that. And this is that moment. I don't care. You want to use the word fascism, you want to use the word that. At the end of the day, we all know what this threat is, and we got to take that seriously. Don't mean we ain't got to do work. Like I say, go to the street, vote, go to the street. Right?
All right.
Yeah.
But we just got to take that seriously right now.
I appreciate what you're saying, April, because of the fact that you're saying something that a lot of voters are not talking about. They talk about our ancestors died for our right to vote and so on and so forth. in a nutshell, no one sane can argue safety. You understand what I'm saying? So that is the best analysis or reason to vote. You know what I'm saying? Because we've been so anti this shit for so long because of the fact that we know what it's about. But when brothers and sisters are talking about safety, who the fuck can argue with that? Who can say, I don't want to be safe, or I do feel safe with Trump in office? I mean, I don't know who the fuck feels safe in Trump minus these white supremacists. You know what I'm saying? Because we've been unsafe for centuries. That's right. For over 400 years. So, you know, I applaud you for bringing it to that particular point because of the fact that from that stance, it makes sense. All this other shit, you know, he's not them and all other shit my man right here talking about, that shit's toilet paper. You know what I'm saying? We can flush that down the toilet.
That's fine.
Anyway.
Can I speak? Thank you. First of all,
who you asking? You asking? You don't tell
I'm
you about
asking
this.
whoever.
Go do your thing. Go do your thing.
So first of all, let me say this: to make the statement that the Supreme Court has never been our friend is probably the most egregious thing I've ever heard a former lawyer say. Because it's only because of the Supreme
I mean, bro, we could work. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in Chicago. Like, I mean,
come on now.
You gonna come at me talking about it's egregious?
Let him get it out. Let him get it out. Let him get it out.
You know, you most definitely just came at me.
No, you did. But it's so. But
hey, you saying like real wild cash shit.
Let's not go to back and forth. Let's go. Yeah, go.
No, you're not being clear.
You said the Supreme Court.
Hey, excuse me, Anoa. No, we're not doing that today.
You said clearly the Supreme Court has never been our friend. If it had not been for the Supreme Court, we wouldn't have made the gains that we've made to this point. Yes, to bring up Plessy Ferguson, but skip over everything else that's come after that is a red herring. That's the first thing.
It's not a red herring.
The second thing is, for me as a black man,
Anoa, you're doing like Trump right now, please.
For me as a black man,
I am doing. I mean, that's what he likes. That's what he responds to. Right?
This is renegade coaches. So I just want
we don't want to mute you.
I want to let him do his thing.
Let him get his
you
fair.
do your thing.
That's fine.
We're gonna let Ben do his thing.
I have to remember what everybody's saying in order to bring it back home for me. So that's all I'm doing.
All right, talk.
The second thing is,
the second thing is, this is what y'all do.
The second
go
thing
ahead,
is,
continue.
The second thing is, as a black man in America, slavery has never been on my fucking ballot. All right, let me be clear about that. Slavery has never been on my ballot because I have no idea what it means to be a slave. None whatsoever. I don't know what it means to be enslaved. I don't know what. That's talk around me that just makes me tired and fatigued because I don't understand that concept. So that's the second thing.
Do you know what oppression is?
I do know, but I'm not oppressed either. That's only in your minds that you are oppressed. I'm not oppressed. I drove here on city streets. I pay taxes for. I'm not oppressed. And I don't know about you now. It may be something with me or something like that, but I'm not oppressed.
You're a special nigga.
I might be. And if I'm a special nigga, then I'm a special nigga. But I'm not oppressed.
I'm sorry, special nigga.
Whatever you want to call me, I'm not oppressed. Okay. I don't walk around with the idea that I'm oppressed. I'm not enslaved. I'm not oppressed. I'm the freest brother you'll ever meet. You know why I'm the freest brother you ever meet? Is because I'm able to go out there and cast a vote not for my quote-unquote oppressor. If you're sitting here and your argument has been for the last hour and a half that you're going to vote for a guy, if Trump is a white supremacist and he supports white supremacy and he's only been there for 4 years in politics, for 4 years, then Joe Biden, who's been there for 47 years at the most exclusive club in this country, one of 100 senators, right? Then he's got to be a white supremacist. Now, if they're both white supremacists, you're then asking me to make a choice between the two white supremacists, which I go back to your point, why would I make that choice? But I don't believe he's a worse white supremacist than Joe Biden. I don't believe he's a white supremacist to begin with. But I will tell you, anybody that tells me I'm stupid for voting for a guy that's been in politics for 47 fucking years and voted for every crime bill proudly, voted for every war proudly, voted to protect every credit card high interest rates proudly. He's from Delaware. Every credit card company, every banking company is out of Delaware. You're going to tell me that while you're oppressed, while you're enslaved, you're gonna go vote for that motherfucker, and you're gonna tell me I'm fucking stupid? Get the fuck out of here, man.
No. But now that you bring it up.
All right. Let's get to him before we get
Ben.
Let me Ben.
Let Ben get
say something.
Yeah. I'm just glad that when somebody in the future finds this podcast, I won't be the one who's been on the side of defending white supremacists like Donald Trump.
Okay.
I won't be the one with the record, with the stain on my legacy for whoever picks up this podcast in 100 years, that I was out here caping on behalf of the man who's putting Nazis in the streets in order to suppress our vote. That said, I want to tell you the most insidious thing that has happened since 2016 on a very concentrated and very organized fashion. And that is to muddy the waters of this decision based on the notion that they are somehow a supreme woke blackness, right? They have found a perfect intersection between people who pretend and have the language of black radicalism, but they intersect clearly with white supremacy. Because my brother let his veil off for a second there, because all that stuff that he was talking about black radicalism and about being anti-war, he said, I don't even believe that I'm oppressed. There's no oppression here. I'm good. I'm walking the streets. I'm good. So, brother, if you can't see the oppression that is still here, that shows me very clearly that you have the language of black radicalism, but you intersect with white supremacy. And that's what's being leveraged against the black community right now. And that's the weapon that has come against us to turn a lot of black people blind to the fact that we have the white supremacist in chief in the White House who has presided in just 4 years. So if he did not start a new war, we've got more people dead from COVID-19 in the 4 years of this motherfucker's first term, and you want to give him a second term. I pray to God. You took off your mask, brother. You took off your mask in this. I'm talking.
Stop. Stop.
No. See, that's the misinformation and the disinformation.
Yo.
Hey,
We're not gonna do this again,
listen.
yo. I'm gonna knock you off the fucking
Right now, those three people on that set are doing more to protect your ass, and then you are doing to protect them. And that is because you are locked part and parcel with the white supremacists in chief, but you're using the language of black radicalism, and I see right through that shit.
Come on, man.
All right,
Well said,
brother. The producer's trying to wrap it up, but we're not gonna wrap it up. Anoa, sister, I know you got something to say.
And keep.
I want you to.
And keep that shit brief. Don't,
Yeah.
Just cause your last name Changa, you ain't the motherfucking host of Renegade.
I don't know about brevity, but to say that it's egregious is about, in thinking about the history of the Supreme Court and Supreme Court decisions that have been made over the last 200 and some odd years, is a lack of understanding of what the Supreme Court is, how it exists, and the decision making that has been done. We're talking about an entire body and long, I mean, like Sister April said, going back to the conservative nature of the Supreme Court and the Warren Court and earlier, is a very honest reflection and understanding that is shared by, I'm not a legal scholar, would never could pretend to call myself, but many a Black legal scholar and others can actually address and understand the hypocrisy of upholding this type of institution. So when we're talking about facts, again, back to my comment about context, right? We're gonna sit here and talk about, well, Trump's only been there for 4 years. Why the fuck do we need to let him have even more time to fuck shit up even more? That's like the dumbest fucking, you said people, I mean, no one actually had called you stupid all night, but that's literally like the dumbest fucking thing I've heard anybody say in a long time. Like, why would I give someone 4 more years to fuck shit up even worse? We're in the worst recession right now. We have over 200,000 people dead from an avoidable, like you have someone who knew, fuck everything else right now. This motherfucker knew back in January what was really going on with COVID-19 and just shrugged and was like, meh, it's okay. Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue and other folks in there doing insider trading and shit while the rest of us is sitting there getting lined up for the slaughter. Like, this is like the most ridiculous conversation we're having, in the extent that we're not even having an honest conversation, because everything else is about everybody. Chill. You're not me, so you can't do what I do. But let me be clear though, when we're talking about how we're making this decision right now, because we spent way too much time talking about the presidential election, like April can attest to. I mean, Kamau, you touched on it earlier. Well, we talk about local politics, we talk about the politics and the things that actually affect the means and conditions of our lives. Oftentimes that's not at the presidency. Unfortunately, what we are seeing with this current president and the way and the overreaches that are happening under his administration and the way in which the different agencies under his administration are operating, it's putting a lot of things at risk for a lot of people in a lot of communities. And so when we're talking about, am I going to sit here and vote for somebody who was the author of not just the crime bill, but the war on drugs? I I don't hate my grandparents and elder Black people who made a decision out of fear. I'm thinking about the elder Black people, like my stepmother's parents, who made a decision to vote for Biden, who revived the Biden fucking campaign, and we're stuck here now because of the fear of what they have been seeing out of the Trump administration over the last 3.5, 4 years. When I sit down and talk to her parents, my grandparents, about why they would vote for Joe Biden, knowing all the things that we know about him, all the other issues, it is the fear of what white people will do if anybody else is the nominee. Like when we talk about what's at stake right now, we are in this position, like I said earlier, because of white mediocrity and white supremacy. Like, I hate the fact that we have to sit here and vote for Joe Biden.
All right. Thank you, Anoa. Thank you, Anoa.
Right now, but you know, brother, you could just not vote. You could just not vote. But at the same time, we're looking at what's happening. I'm not going to pause because we're looking at what's at stake right now.
1 second, B. 1 second. Anoa, get your words out, but I want you to wrap it up soon. But get your words out.
I'm about to wrap it up. Okay. But at the same time, when we're looking at the work that April is doing, like I have mentioned a couple of times tonight, April is literally trying to keep people safe down in Southwest Georgia tonight, right? All week, last week as well, who are out there doing the work because Kemp and his minions, all supported by Donald Trump, are trying to make it as hard as possible. You talk about you not oppressed because you could go cast your vote. Good for you that you can go cast your vote without issues. So many people in this state and others don't have that luxury.
We have a record turnout.
No, people don't have. We have record turnout.
Shut up!
Okay.
We have record turnout.
Yo, we wrapping this. Thank you, Anoa. Thank you, Anoa. Thank you, Anoa. Listen, Anoa, that's not how you talk on the show. This is Renegade Culture. We don't get down like that.
1 second.
So let's wrap it up.
You chill too.
Nah.
Look.
Word is bond.
Look, we don't want to lose control of our show, so we want to thank our guests for coming on. No.
Yeah.
We want to thank our guests for coming on. This has been a lively discussion.
Very lively.
And we're real glad that we had the full perspectives that we had. This is a discussion that the larger Black community is having. And it's good to have it here for people to hear.
We're going to do a 2 minute.
I appreciate meeting both of y'all.
Renegade
God
Culture.
bless both of y'all.
We're going to do a 2 minute outro, and we have a performance by deaf poet Tommy Bottoms coming up next.
And you too, sister.
Renegade Culture.
Nice
You motherfuckers out of control. What's happening, Renegade Coaches in the building?
Yo, Renegade Culture, we back after one of the wildest podcasts we've ever had.
Nigga.
Yo.
This shit was hotter than fish grease.
I don't understand. Your doctor was screaming his ass off. I don't know what's
You
going
ain't ear
on,
doctor.
man.
I think both of y'all lost y'all motherfucking mind.
He's like, you produced, I produced this.
This is
Fuck
my
out of here,
Hey,
son.
Kamau thought he was run. This is my motherfucking
Fucking house.
When I say whose house, did he?
Kamau's house.
Yeah. Motherfucker, you trying to tell me to shut the fuck up. Like, hold on now. You going too far.
Word.
Shut your goddamn. I had mouth surgery. You about to get it next Saturday?
Oh,
Anyway.
Who's our special guest tonight, baby?
Oh, yeah. Tonight, rocking with us. You know what I'm saying? This brother right here, you've seen him on HBO's Deaf Poetry. He's also a playwright. Had a dope play called Educated Gangster. Also, you catch him at your local bar if you live in Atlanta and shit, 'cause that's what the fuck we do. You know what I'm saying? Been on for quite a while. He's a real dope poet, real cool brother. You know what I'm saying? He's been involved in a lot of shit we've done in the past, dealing with social justice. We appreciate his work. Only thing I got against him is he rolled with Shelley Wynter.
Another Black Republic.
But anyway, Tommy Bottoms in the building.
What's happening? Appreciate you having me.
Man, hey man, it's crazy because for the listeners and the viewers, you know, we didn't know Tommy was coming. But then again, we did know Tommy was coming because Shelley came. Shelley had Tommy as backup. And while Shelley was answering the questions, Tommy was tweeting him like, say this, say that. But anyway, we're glad to have you on, man.
Yeah, appreciate you having me, bro. Definitely.
Man, how long you been, and what inspired you to do spoken word? Because today you look like, you know, a reverend.
You know.
Deacon.
Well, you know, I sell houses now, so, you know.
You sell houses?
Yeah, I sell
Okay,
houses.
okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, so it's a different little thing. But as far as spoken word, man, I think like most things in life, a lot of times it start with a chick, you know what I mean? I wasn't really into that. Although I was kind of into being a little different at the time. You're talking about the 90s when, you know, and a young lady by the name of Allison Horton, she ended up,
remember her.
yeah, we used to work together. And she she actually ended up getting on, what was that, Showtime at the Apollo. You know what I mean? She won like once, maybe twice, you know, and it was kind of like cool, you know what I mean? To me, that was different, you know what I mean? Like doing you know, she was doing poetry. And fast forward like a year after that, I ran into another old co-worker, asked where she was at, and they said, you know, she does poetry at some, you know, little spot. So I showed up on some stalking, you know what I'm talking about? And, yeah, but that was my first time even, I didn't know that world even existed. I didn't even know there was a place that people did that. You know what I mean? And I came, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, you know what I mean? And I stood out, you know what I mean? I was a little different. And
you say a little different.
Well, you know, then it was you know, burning incense and dashikis, and I come in with a triple fat goose and some Timbs on. I'm drinking Heinekens, and everybody was kind of like, who invited this guy? You know what I'm saying? Because it was just, I mean, you're talking about this is in Indiana, so at the time that was different. You know what I mean? There wasn't, you know, a lot of people into locks and you know, that kind of thing. So this was just different in itself. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of how I fell upon it. And I was just a observer for a few months. And then one day I said, I think I could do that. And I got booed the first time. You know what I mean?
Keeping it solid.
Yeah, not booed, but in the poetry world where nobody claps or nothing. Yeah, nothing happened. That's the equivalent of a boo. Yeah. So it gave me the motivation that, oh, I got something. And kind of been hooked since. And that was like 20-something years ago.
So is that where you from? You from Indiana?
From Indiana,
okay.
Yeah.
So he's rocking triple fat goose and shell and
that was, you know, that was
a few decades ago.
90s. 90s, you know what I'm saying?
No doubt. Indianapolis or?
Yeah, I was in Indianapolis at the time. I'm originally from Peru, Indiana, a little small town, a little north of that.
Shout out to Indiana. Gary Wilder and the motherfucking talent.
Off the chain for a long time.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
So, brother, before you do your thing, we're going to introduce you to a segment called, what is this, Naka's Nonsense, and a bold question.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have like about 35, 40 questions in here.
Okay.
And we want you to pick one out, only one. Okay. And read the question, and we want you to give an answer. We might all give an answer to it.
Okay.
So dig deep in the bowl.
We're going to
see what I'm saying? Everybody going to see the one question. He just walked around and threw that shit in there. But go ahead, read that.
Favorite poet in hip hop?
Favorite poet in hip hop?
Man. Now, are we saying poet in the broad sense of like MCs and everything?
We didn't come up with that shit. He came up with.
Okay.
But I think that's what he means.
Yeah.
Mr. Server is shaking his head. Like,
I'm gonna say my personal.
Vanilla Ice.
I'm saying Cube, America's Most Wanted. Okay. Cube, Death Certificate.
So it's Cube all the way.
Cube. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you glad he met with
Cube is. No, if we want to talk about the politics side of it, you know what I mean? Because on the hip hop side, Cube is probably the most influential person ever in hip hop. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And I'm willing to have that debate. You know what I mean? I wrote a whole play about it. You know, so we can have that debate. Okay. You know what I'm talking about? But if you want to talk about the politics of it, Cube represents who in this political thing right now. He represents what a lot of black men are right now. You know what I mean? And because he's cast because now we live in this environment that anything that's not deranged, I hate Trump, is considered pro-Trump. You know what I'm saying? He don't like Trump. He's just like, he's being practical. You know what I'm saying? And what he's saying is, I don't like Trump or Biden. And we focus so much on the black Trump supporter, but the biggest coalition out here, particularly amongst black men, is fuck Trump and fuck Biden. And that is the most important thing. If you want to focus on the conversation, you know what I mean? Now, with that being said, the black Trump supporter is not a unicorn. And y'all get ready to find out in a couple of days some of your friends been lying to you. You know what I mean? I'm just dead ass.
We're going to slow you down.
No, yeah, but there's a whole other conversation. Yeah. But just to go back to the Cube part of it, and what they feared from Cube and why they had to demonize what he was on this whole idea that he got to talk to fuck both of them. If he want to talk to the motherfucker in power, he want to talk to who he want to talk to. He talk to the fuck he want to get the motherfucking cube. If that's what he want to do, that's the fuck he want to do. Yeah. Tell something. I mean, in a sense, if we gonna talk about who got legitimacy out here, if fucking Cube is a coon, ain't nobody safe. Goddamn it. Because Kalonji could be the coon tomorrow. Because I'm saying.
I was saying not tomorrow, but that's
I'm just saying, you don't know how the political wind's going to fall tomorrow, because all Cube did was fall on the wrong side of the mob today. And tomorrow the mob might come for you.
I mean, because the truth of it, I mean, again, we don't want to get in.
Maybe we do.
The idea, though, is not that black men are independent. Most black men are supporting Biden, whether we like it or not.
No, they're not.
It's clear. The stats are there. 18% for
Trump.
Y'all
gonna wake up.
18% for Trump.
Look,
it's the same stats as it was before.
Do y'all remember?
No. It's the same stats as it was before. Overwhelmingly, just like 4 years ago, whether we like it or not, most black folks, black men and black women, voted for Hillary Clinton. They did not vote for Donald Trump. And that situation is not going to change, whether we like it or not.
We saw it with Stacey Abrams. We saw it with the
black men voted for Stacey Abrams. You didn't say that. You said they didn't vote for Stacey Abrams?
He got like 20%. Kemp got like 20%
of the black men. 80%.
Wait a minute. Well, in a
party
that relies on you to get 95 to 98% of it, 20% is a big deal.
No.
Same thing happened in Florida with the governor race at the same time. Stacey Abrams. My point is that there is an awakening going on, whether you want to feel that you're a part of it or not. And what side of you on?
Awakening is the word that you choose to use.
I'm just saying what it is.
I think one of the best hip-hop poets would be Kendrick Lamar. What about you, Kalonji?
Kendrick Lamar?
Yeah.
I would like to say,
before from taking place.
You said Kendrick Lamar?
Stop our dialogue from
I think with me, the first thing I'd like to say is, the day I'm a motherfucking coon, y'all niggas might as well commit suicide. That's number one. And secondly, I'm sure Tommy and Shelley was in the same math class, so we ain't gonna go there. My favorite poet right now, I'm gonna go on record, is my sister, Sonny Patterson.
All right. She did her thing at the BT Awards.
Yes, and she's a part of the organization as well.
Favorite poet in hip-hop would probably be Black Thought.
All right.
Black Thought.
All right. How would you contact?
Okay, so how can people get in touch with you, man? We're gonna have you back on here because of the fact that, we know that you're definitely passionate about Cube, and we want to hear about that.
We can talk about that now. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
Social media, Educated Gangster 101, or my government name, Sean Shoemake, Tommy Bottoms. Depending on what you Google, and depending on what you're gonna find. Yeah? But no, you can definitely check me out. All social media, Educated Gangster 101.
No doubt. And shout out to Georgia Meade. You know what I'm saying? Though she's going through something right now. We will be putting something together soon to represent her and some of these other brothers and sisters out here in the Atlanta poet world. A lot of dope poets who have helped us grow as far as an organization. So we appreciate you, your work.
I appreciate y'all.
Listen to Renegade Culture. We'll be right back at you with Tommy Bottoms. He's about to wreck shit. I hope he ain't talking that Trump shit. He's gonna wreck shit.
That is too much news speak in my news feed. So believe it or nonsense, it don't move me. Especially when I know that the media delivery trying to mislead and deceive me. I mean, just because you put gluten-free vegan cheese over bovine feces, do not think that you can fool me. See, Orwell already wrote this book. I'm just watching the movie. That's when my timeline looked more and more like 1984, doom and gloomy. That's because the social media algorithm got everybody in their feelings thinking anybody with a different opinion is nothing more than the comic book supervillains. The words of the spirit are considered offensive. You're the copyright infringement. Fuck it. You can sue me. But it's important that I warn you that you might want to hire a lawyer whose mouthpiece is a beast, not the ordinary warrior. I'm a superhuman word freak. Like Adina Howard meets John Keats, the sheep asleep. So I'm going to have to tiptoe around a few tough topics to make sure they don't wake up cranky, outraged, and angry. I know this sounds crazy, but shh. It's important that we keep whispering because Big Brother might be listening. And they little sister Siri, she always snitching. They auntie Alexa, well, for some reason, that chick is always in the kitchen. To me, that seems suspicious because she always act like she ain't doing nothing, but trust me, she paying attention. Not to mention she got plenty of media minutes who manufacture division, shape public opinion, and keep the people confused. I mean, they got the news that can try to entertain you while the comedians give you the news. And that's why they call it a media circus. Because the joke is on us. Because in the age of the absurd, the clowns are laughing at us. And that's the very reason why I say fuck all that doom and gloom in my timeline. As far as I'm concerned, it's by far the best time to be alive. The age of the absurd. Well, 2 + 2 = 5. And anyone with the unmitigated nerve to yell out the answer is 4 might get punched in his eye. So now you got to brush up on your boxing, discuss topics with logic. Make sure your opinions are popular before you discuss them in public. Might get kicked out the cookout for your hat chance and get drunk with your cousin. You're like, yo, cuz, I thought we was cool. We just kicked it last week. Yeah, cuz, but that was last week before you sent out that fucked up tweet. You didn't even apologize, and now we can't speak. But between you and me, what you said was kind of deep, and I actually kind of agree. But listen, I ain't trying to get kicked out the cookout, nigga, so it's better you than me. Oh, trust me, fam, I understand. I know exactly how I be. See, on one hand, I like sweet tea and mac and cheese on much as the next man, but it just ain't in me to take the DCPC don't speak seriously. See, I'm too intellectually curious to be worried about who Twitter is feeling me, or who unfollow me, delete me, retweet me, ban me, bar me, block me, not giving a fuck was worth $1 billion or advise you to buy stock to me. Because I'm going to sell high, I'm going to buy low, I'm going to damn near double your portfolio. Every time I act like an asshole to the egghead, to the bozos, they pseudo-intellect convo, knock down them clowns like dominoes, like, whoa. See, the primary intention of the First Amendment is to properly protect the offensive. That's the only way the average Joe can go up and get a status quo and not have to worry about coming up missing. Or sent off to a re-education camp or prison sentence. Don't think it can't happen. It's been well documented. I mean, ask any authoritarian to tell you that their tyranny is typically well-intended with good intentions. If you don't, you listen and obey. Make sure you understand the truth is whatever they say. But I got too much Kunta Kinte in my DNA just to shut up and obey. So can't just tweet about me. You got to beat it out before I just shut up and obey. Thank y'all.